Welcome back to the Forza Horizon 5 preview, and today we are going to be doing a race in a wide-body C8 Corvette, and then after that, we're actually going to be doing a full drift build on a Honda S2000 and exploring some of the brand new customization features, including the new transmissions, as well as a wild engine swap. Now, diving right into this race in the wide-body C8, it's really interesting because the track that we're running right here is basically a mixture of the main roads around the festival as well as some sections of the racetrack near the festival as well. Now, driving the wide-body C8, I can definitely tell you that physics-wise, grip-wise, and handling-wise, you'll feel a lot more feedback in different ways than you did in Horizon 4. And what I mean by that is it's actually a little bit easier to predict what the car is doing. And that's actually really important because you'll notice it a lot when you're turning into a corner, and also when you're starting to pass cars in a corner, you'll notice that you have a lot more feedback for where the car is, and thus you can position it a lot more accurately. Now, the driving dynamics of this car are absolutely amazing, and honestly, right out of the box, it is an absolute beast to drive, and we're not going to be spending a ton of time on this race, but I definitely wanted to show it to you guys because this race was actually really fun, and it also kind of showed me a lot about how I am probably going to be using the C8 Corvette as one of my primary campaign mode race cars, definitely in the near future. Now, we've phased ahead a little bit in the race so that you guys can see what happens not only at the end, but also so you can take a little bit more of a look at the backdrop around the festival, because there is so much beauty surrounding the festival that sometimes I literally had to use the rewind feature to get myself back on the track because I was staring off at like all of the features of the world and all of these different things and different parts of the environment that are just so incredibly beautiful to look at, especially here on the Xbox Series X. And not only that, but the way the paint shines in the sun and the way the shadows and kind of the light flares reflect off of the paint of the car, it's absolutely beautiful. Just absolutely incredibly gorgeous. But across the line we go, and now we're going to move ahead into the S2000 drift build. Now, interestingly enough, I didn't go to the auto show and buy this car. This was a car that was completely randomly given to me through a wheel spin, and I was like, holy crap, that's actually a really interesting wheel spin, because even though they consider it like more of a common car, I was like, you know what? I really should go explore the customization options of it, because I didn't think, like, in my mind, I was like, there's gotta be some really cool, properly spicy customization options for the S2000, because if you think about it, the S2000 has been such a staple of JDM car culture for such a long time, and I know that there's always gonna be the little arguments that people get back into, like, back and forth about, well, AP1 or AP2, or this one is better, or that one is better, or this one has the better engine, or this one has the better suspension, and really the way I like to look at it is, I love all S2000s. I love the AP1, I love the AP2, I love all the special editions. It really was such an incredible car from Honda, and I think that's why it holds such a special place for me personally. Now, after getting into the shop, I definitely didn't waste any time at all going into the upgrade shop and going through all of the upgrades that were available for this particular car. Now, I wanted to see what body kit options were available, and we've got the Top Secret bumper, the Mugen front bumper, the Jay's Racing front bumper, and also the Forza Race front bumper. Now, I decided to go with the Mugen front bumper, but I understand if the Mugen front bumper is not necessarily everybody's taste. I just really like that weird smile that it has. It's kind of this very strange, you know, kind of look to the front end where a Miata has kind of a, you know, like a nice inviting smile, whereas the Mugen S2000 front bumper is more along the lines of either a evil smile or a get out of my way right now smile. Continuing to go through the aero and appearance, we also have the rear bumpers, one from Mugen, one from Buddy Club, and one from Jay's. And one of the really interesting things as well about the wings is that there are wings now that are not just Forza wings that allow you to have adjustable downforce. So you're no longer restricted to just a Forza wing if you want to be able to adjust the downforce of your car and actually really dial it in for a grip build or a race build, or really any kind of build that would require you to modify the balance of your aerodynamics. Now, the hoods, you have a Mugen hood and a Top Secret hood. I kind of wanted to keep it all tied together with the Mugen body pieces. I almost went with the Top Secret hood, but at the end of the day, the Mugen hood won me over because it was paired with the front bumper, and I think it just really fit well all together like that. Next up is going to be the engine. Now, I thought about building the F20 in this particular car. However, I thought about it a little bit more and I was like, wait a minute. I have an opportunity here to go super, super crazy with an engine swap. And later on down the road, I'm definitely going to do a more realistic, Honda F-Series engine build, but this time, I wanted to go super over the top, and I was looking at some of these engine options, and this one in particular caught my eye, the Racing 3-liter inline-six turbo. I was, blown away by the fact that that was there, and even the baseline numbers were absolutely off the charts to me, and I was like, I wonder if we can build this engine up and really just see how much we can extract out of it and then use it in a small, lightweight chassis for a drift car. Now, a lot of people don't use S2000s for drift cars because they are kind of known for being historically a little twitchy. However, if you tune them right, they can be very rewarding to use and very rewarding to drive. But when it comes to upgrades on this particular engine, I really did decide to just go full on, go over the top, and see what all I could put to the ground in a chassis this small. Now, there really aren't all that many upgrades that you can do to this engine, but you'll understand why once you see that when you put a race turbo on it, we're already over 1,000 horsepower, and we haven't even touched any of the other upgrades yet. So already, you know that this engine means business in every possible way. Now, we're nearly done with the build. We're throwing the race ignition system on there, and we just have the valves to do now, and that leaves us with a final number, 1,270 horsepower and 901 foot-pounds of torque in a car that weighs under 3,000 pounds. And we're planning on using it as a drift car. This sounds like it could either be a recipe for something that could go very, very well or very, very badly, and either way, it's going to be a really good time. Now, of course, an essential part of any drift build is the wheel and tire package, and I wanted to go ahead and get the offset dialed in, the offset handled, and I really wanted the car to look on point when it was standing still, not just when it was moving, and that's why I decided to give it a really aggressive amount of offset from the get-go, but trust me, I know it looks a little monster trucky right now, but it'll look a lot better once we get the aftermarket wheels on it, and we also get it lowered down on the coilovers and the drift suspension. Now, I did also decide to bump the wheel size up to a 17-inch wheel because in terms of the perfect wheel size for S2000s, there's of course a lot of debate on what that size is, as there is with really any other car, but I personally think 17s are just the exact size that looks perfect on almost every S2000. I know some people feel that that's like 18-inch wheels, other people prefer the 17-inch wheels. I'm definitely more partial, especially when it comes to S2000s, to the 17-inch wheels, especially like 17 by 9, 17 by 10. Those work really, really well. Now, of course, wheels are one of the most subjective aspects of any car build, and as you're going through a wheel selection, there are, of course, going to be wheels that some people like more than others, and it really all comes down to personal choice. It comes down to what you like, but at the end of the day, these Work Gnosis wheels really won me over, and I looked through some other wheels as well, but man, the new wheels, especially out of that Work collection, are absolutely incredible to look at on almost any car that you put them on, and the S2000 is, of course, no exception, especially with Work being historically known for how good their wheels look on almost any JDM car, really. Now, at this point, I was really, really ready to see how the car was going to look once we got it set down at the correct ride height. Now, of course, I wanted to go ahead and throw a set of race brakes on there so I would have not only the optimum amount of braking power, but I would also have the control over the brake bias tuning. And now that the car is lowered down, oh my god, does it just look so right. At least to me, the offset fits so well, and they really have done such an incredible job setting up the drift suspension, not only to look so good right off the bat, but also to perform amazingly well right off the bat. And have I mentioned that you have like 6-speed, 7-speed, 8-speed, 9-speed, and 10-speed transmissions in race form for most cars in the game, the S2000 being one of them. So that also was a huge, like, mind-blowing moment to me. And as far as differentials go, you now have different race differentials that are already pre-set up for a specific task. Now, since this was a drift build, I decided to go go ahead and throw the drift-focused differential in it, but you can still go in and tune that differential to your own personal specs and your own personal preferences if you want to kind of mess with the parameters of it after you drive it for the first time. Now, after leaving the garage, it was time to do a little bit of fine-tuning. I wanted to dial in the tire pressure where I wanted it. I got it a little bit lower down in the front and also lowered it quite a bit in the rear, which is something I wouldn't normally do for a drift car because you want it to be able to slide. But with this much power, I figured that grip was going to be more important for control than, you know, making the car more slidey in terms of, like, you know, raising the tire pressure, making it slip more, because I know it's going to have plenty of power to spin the rear tires, and that's also why I lowered the final drive by a massive amount. I made the final drive way longer, and I don't know if I would do it that exact same way again, because this was my first time playing around with setting up one of these 9-speed plus race transmissions, but they're actually really useful, and it all depends on what your actual focus of your build is. But after also messing around with the diff just a little bit, I figured I was pretty much ready to go. I added a little bit of deceleration lock into it as well, so that I could do some brake entries, or at least it would respond a little better to some brake entries. At least that's what I thought. That was my logic in my head. And then it was time to take it for a rip. And boy, does it rip. It's pretty much just wheel spin everywhere whenever you want it. Now, I don't know if that's exactly how I would set this car up if I built it again like a second time, because I'm spending most of my time in 6th and 7th gear. Every once in a while I'll go to 5th, but it really has plenty of torque and also plenty of RPM to stay in 6th most of the time if you're drifting above 60 miles an hour, which is a wild thing to say. Like, when I say it out loud, I'm like, holy crap, that's kind of outlandish and crazy, but somehow, some way, it works. Now, I don't know if this would work really in a competitive mindset or in a points-based competitive mindset, but in terms of a car that's just a blast to get out and slide around in, and also build up a massive amount of points, holy crap, you can have a blast in this thing. And you also want to talk about building up, you know, building up your perks for your car. This is a great way to do it. I mean, drift cars are a wonderful way to build those multipliers quickly, and if you get into a rhythm with your transitions, you'll really never lose your points chain. So again, if you're wanting to find a really quick way to get a lot of those skill points, holy crap, a drift car is one of the best possible ways to do that. Now, if you're first starting to work on drifting in Horizon 5, I would definitely recommend practicing with manual with clutch so that you can clutch kick the car, and also so that when you go to handbrake entry, you can also put the clutch in and rev the engine up, so then you can, when you let go of the handbrake, you can dump the clutch and get a little bit more momentum out of each transition. At least that's a strategy that I use personally that helps me out a lot in terms of carrying speed into the next corner. But of course, let me know in the comment section down below if you enjoyed this build, or what you would have done differently, or what drift car you are going to be building when you first jump into Forza Horizon 5. And if you enjoyed this look at the customization, if you enjoyed this drift gameplay, and you enjoyed this look at the S2000, once again, be sure to let me know any thoughts and opinions that you might have in the comments below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and of course, turn those notifications on, and I will see y'all next time.